Good morning. Welcome to the December 19th Economic Development Authority meeting. We have a few commissioners who will be running late, but we are going to go ahead and proceed with the meeting. Given that, we'll call the order.
Yes, good morning and thank you, Chair.
Roll call.
Mr. Barber.
Here.
Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Brown is absent. Mrs. Saunders Smith.
Here.
Mrs. Smith is absent and Ms. Boone is also absent. Chair, we do not yet have a quorum, but we are able to proceed with the agenda. We won't be able to take action on this, so we have, but we can come back and revisit that when we do.
Okay. Why don't we start with the EDA property update?
Good morning again. I'm going to take a brief minute to run down the list of EDA properties that are currently either under contract or proceeding to a contract, either for acquisition or disposition. The first group of properties, the Holmes properties at 1028 High Street, 1013 through 1015 Queen Street. We are still working to resolve some title issues with respect to these properties and are still under contract. That contract has been extended. As soon as we can address those matters, we will schedule for the closing to occur and expect that in the coming months. Jeff, if you have any update.
Only that I checked in with the attorney for the owner last week, and he said everything's on track. He'll still be able to get the suit filed and clear everything in time for closing first quarter next year.
Good. Any questions on that? Mr. Boone, good morning. Pleasure.
Good morning, everyone.
If we could just go back so we can continue down the list. 42 Afton Parkway. We are still working on the closing for that property. We had a contract that needed to be assigned, so we were working with the property owner for that. We'll keep you posted, I guess, as that develops. But we've had some issues just getting in touch with the owner, so we're working on that now. 710 Lincoln Street, property in the Port Center Commerce Park area that is under contract with Little Homies. They're currently under a engineering plan review on the fourth floor. So as soon as that wraps up and they have an ability to pull a permit, we'll look to move forward to closing with that item. Item 4 is 1100 High Street. This is the property that is under contract with the Woda Cooper companies. They have received their tax credit award from the Virginia Housing Authority, and they are in the site plan review and approval process, currently eyeing a spring closing for that project. So we're expecting that to continue to move forward as scheduled. 219 Pavilion Drive. This is the land adjacent to Frito-Lay, which has not yet officially opened, but we're expecting that to occur, I believe, in the spring. We actually had a meeting with some of their team just last week. So that contract has been extended now, and we're looking at a closing in May 15th to be exact for that property. 1021 1107 High Street. That is the High Street Townhome project with Mr. Keels. We'll be discussing this matter later this morning in a closed session. So that contract is scheduled to expire on January 19th of 2024. 73 Farragut Street in Craddock. We are working on the demolition of the warehouse building there, that property. The plan is in review with the engineering department right now, so just waiting on that to be approved so we can put it out to bid for demolition. I hope to have that very soon. That's taken a little bit longer than expected, but that is underway. 2525 Turnpike Road. These are properties that were transferred from VDOT to the city several years back as part of the Turnpike Road widening project, and we're just working through some of the title matters with respect to the transfer of that property from VDOT. 301 Columbia Street. If you recall, this is the property that you approved at your last meeting with Eagle Security being the purchaser for their new headquarters office. We have presented a contract to them. We're just waiting for that to be executed. And then last but not least, 1220 High Street, the Innovation District. This is the former Enterprise car rental location. We are under contract to purchase that property. We have a 60-day due diligence period that we are currently within, with an expected closing date of mid-January. We have ordered an environmental assessment just to make sure that the property is clear and free of environmental issues. And Jeff and his team have been working through the title. So I think we're on schedule for that closing to occur in January. And that is everything. Are there any questions or items I can expand?
Yeah, on the 1100 High Street, will the design be similar to the Holly Point, or have you seen?
They did as part of their, and you actually have their engineer here in the room.
Exactly.
It is very similar to that. It is a 4-story building. The ground floor, however, does not contain any commercial space. It does have their community space and amenities located on the first floor, but it is not a mixed-use project. The design of that was presented and proffered with their conditional use permit, but it is a 4-story, similar design, just no commercial ground floor retail space.
Will it have a fitness center?
I do believe that's
We
part of
just
the.
talked about that in the 80% meeting last week.
Okay.
We'll also have some outdoor open space as well, Jason. I think maybe even, is there a playground area or?
There's a playground area, there's banks. I guess you call it a park or maybe a learning exhibit out on the front corner. It's got a lot of amenities.
I wasn't in that meeting, but will there be a community garden or anything like that? Is that something that could?
They do typically, but we try to, not like a botanical garden,
No,
but hiding places.
right.
But yes, it's well maintained and will be a seating area.
Great. You know, 1028, when can we start entertaining architectural designs, or do you want to wait till everything is done?
Yeah, great question. So I'd love to start that, tomorrow, but my recommendation would be wait until we have resolved the title issues that have been discovered, and then, once we are certain that it is proceeding to closing, probably post-closing, I would recommend bringing in an architect to begin that process. The other thing I'd like to begin exploring, which we're doing now, but following the closing, is opportunities for grant funding support for the restoration of those buildings. I think there's some programs that we can potentially participate in, whether it's the Virginia Industrial Revitalization Fund program or the Workforce Community Revitalization Fund. There are different programs I think we can utilize, leveraging your monies with some state funding, some other sources of funding to maybe undertake that project be investigated. We could probably discuss that a little bit further after January.
Okay.
If there are no other questions, we're gonna, Ms. Tracy, if we can drop back to the meeting minutes. I do believe we now have a quorum. So if there's any action on this item.
Everyone's had a chance to read the November 14th meeting, and there are no changes or modifications moved for an adoption of the minutes.
Okay.
Vote.
Roll call vote, Mr. Barber, Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Brown is absent, Mrs. Smith is absent, Ms. Boone.
Yes.
Chair, the item is approved by a vote of 4-0. Thank you. We're kind of skip back forward to new business items. And the first item we have is an update on Craddock, specifically 48 Afton Parkway. On the overhead, if you can make it out, there is the parcel and building on the corner of Afton Parkway, and I can't make out the side street there, but it is adjacent to the old movie theater at 42 Afton. This property we have been looking at for some time to determine what will come of it, and it did go to auction just last week through the treasurer's office for delinquent taxes and fees. We did make an effort to acquire the property. We were unsuccessful in that effort. There was another purchaser who outbid our offers. And my understanding, they will be acquiring that property. Today is the deadline for that to happen by close of business today. So we are still monitoring that to determine who the purchaser is and, you know, how they are moving forward. So certainly we'll be doing some outreach to them to determine their plans, but just wanted to make you aware of that. We were unsuccessful.
Just out of curiosity, if a property goes up because of delinquent taxes, is there an opportunity for someone to go in and pay the taxes and acquire the property? Or is that not?
No, it has to go through judicial process for a tax sale. There are, in the past, there had been sort of a private method utilized, but also goes through a judicial process. But that's kind of fallen into disfavor of late, on the theory that it's not really giving a fair opportunity to maximize the price.
That's interesting because it wasn't I don't know that we knew they had an interest in that property prior to, or was it interest in that property before us? It just kind of popped up.
Really can't say to that point. We certainly haven't spoken with anybody that's expressed a interest or desire to acquire the property. There hasn't been a lot of activity in Craddock here as of late. We're certainly interested in who the purchaser is, and we'll be in touch with them to determine their plans. And then, of course, the adjacent property at 46 Afton Parkway, I do believe that they are in arrears on their fees and taxes. So we're going to monitor that as well. I believe it is the same ownership entity as 48 Afton Parkway. So we'll be keeping an eye on that to determine what the next steps are in Afton Square.
So Jeff, let me ask this another way. If the city deems a piece of property as important for economic development and we own a portion of it and we need to acquire, to no priority that we give to economic development to do that?
No, it's got to be a public process. It's got to be approved by the court as essentially maximizing value of purchase price. Because even if you owe taxes, you may still have equity, or there may be lien holders that have an interest in the value. And so to avoid a due process constitutional claim, you have to try and maximize what it is.
I guess it's safe to say that that building has never been cited for any issues in terms of building non-compliance.
Yeah, I don't know. Spur.
Thank you.
Moving on, we do have an update on our business investment grant program. Just to run through program year to date, we in July were successful in approving 20 applications. You can see here on the screen the funding breakdown. Overwhelming majority of those were real property investment grants, just in terms of the funding requests. But we had 16 Smart Start business development applications that were funded. You can see in the first round, we had 100% minority participation, minority women-owned business participation in the program, with the breaks industries included there below. We just finished the review process from round 2, which ran the month of October. And we have a total of 22 grant applications that have been approved. I think we've got one item that's still requiring your review and consideration this morning. But we approved or have completed the review and found just over 50% of the applicants were complete and able to be approved. Again, you can see the breakdown, real property investment grants in round 2 total of $118,000. And we had 20,000 in the Smart Start Business Development Grant and 20,000 in the Acceleration Grant. So year to date, for the real estate program, which you allocated $300,000 to for the fiscal year, we're currently at $218,000 of that approximately has been awarded. So we'll probably need to monitor that in the next 2 rounds to see what the demand is for the program. Of the $100,000 allocated for the development grant, we're just about halfway through that. So $49,950 of the $100,000 has been awarded, and for the acceleration grant, we're at $24,500. So obviously that program little less interest there, but the grant award there is a little bit higher at $5,000 versus $2,000. And again, our round 2 participation is 100% minority women-owned businesses. So again, we're really working to make sure we're reaching all businesses in Portsmouth to make them aware of this program. But I do think it is worth recognizing that we're being successful in our efforts to reach small minority women-owned businesses to make this opportunity available to them and to provide support and resources. Are there any questions about the programs overall?
None.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I have another great application for you. So I'm bringing you Gulf Sauce. I'm sure you've all been there and had their delicious food and probably met the owner, Mr. Bullock. This is his 3rd application before you, but this is for his original restaurant. Location is 515 Washington Street, Suite C. This time he wants to do an interior and exterior renovation and refresh. He says he's ready to do an overhaul. He approved a grant application for Yolsonos 2, and many of you came out to the ribbon cutting, so you saw the great work that he did inside, and he wants to almost mirror that in his original location. This time, he would like to do a new HVAC system, bathroom renovation, a little bit of drywall repair, new interior lighting. He's gonna put in a brand new bar as well as restaurant seating. Security improvements, just a few, exterior paint and new exterior lighting. His total project cost is $62,000, so he is requesting the full $25,000 in funding. And a few photos. This is just the outside, so you can see the current signage. The lighting he has outside is just patio lighting. Interior, just basic tables and chairs, but he's looking to refresh all of that. This is what it looks like after hours. These are the photos that he provided. The other ones I may have stolen off of Facebook. But you can see he's got couches in the middle photo, and he wants to install banquet seating just as he has at Yolsonos 2. The flooring is this tile floor that he wants to replace. More photos. This is the bar that he'd like to replace and make it look almost exactly like the one at Yolsonos 2, which is stone and wood. And then he's got some build out issues that he wants to take care of with organization. The third photo is the little bit of drywall repair that he needs to accomplish. And I'm sure many of you have been inside, but a refresh to look like Los Llanos 2 would go a long way, especially down here in the downtown area. This is a bit of a basic application, but I think it'll have a really great improvement on the restaurant spaces that we have here. Free to answer any questions. It was a quick one.
Well, I'm glad. I think it did need some renovations to it. The food is great, as you said. I did notice that, a lot of the parking now for its patrons are being used by the people that are doing the construction next door. I don't know if there's anything we could do about it, but I would think that would be a real issue for them because it's very difficult. I don't know if there's anything you can tell contractors where the car, I don't know what it is.
You are correct. There are a number of spaces that have been fenced off as well for the construction staging. The owner of the professional building next door is actually the owner of this property as well.
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Bullock is a tenant of Lightwell Development. So he is actually leasing from them. They had to sign off on this application, being the property owner. So I think they've been working with them to try to limit the construction vehicles, taking up a lot of the on-street parking. I do believe there are some time restrictions on that parking. Mr. Foley, the principal of Lightwell Development, has a small parking lot around the corner where I think he's trying to have a lot of those construction vehicles parking as well. So he acquired this as part of the overall. So we are hopeful that project will wrap up by April. So here very soon that all those construction vehicles and the fencing will come down and go away. So.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Barber and Sandra Smith. Here I can proceed with reading the roll call.
Yes.
Mr. Barber.
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mrs. Sandra Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Brown and Smith are absent. Ms. Boone.
Yes.
You, Chair, the item is approved by a vote of 4-0.
Great.
Yes, and the next slide. We can advance to the next slide. You can make that out. Happy to read it if you need to.
We're gonna have our meeting, as you can see, on the 16th. Next year is gonna be a really, I think, challenging year for us as we begin to look at what we can do as property that's available to us gets reduced significantly. So we have about 4 topics here that we think would be good for us to start some strategic planning around. Innovation district plan presentation, which we will hear. The minority participation policy, that we can kind of figure out how that impacts future development. Here, the waterfront development update, and then a little bit around our strategic initiative planning. What do we want to be like? What are some of the things that we want to do? Are there opportunities for us to kickstart development in certain areas of the city with some of our own money? Are there any properties that would make sense for us to renovate? And so really just a good open conversation about where we see ourselves and what we would like to do moving forward. Brian, you can jump in.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. So just to add to the conversation about the agenda, so we have recently wrapped up the draft of the Innovation District Plan, which was presented to Council at their last meeting. Brian Sweats, who is with the Planning Department, has confirmed his availability to come before the EDA at your retreat to make a similar presentation and have kind of a conversation with you all about the implementation side of the plan, some of the recommendations that were made, and how that would, I guess, be tackled. Obviously, the plan will require the adoption of the city council, and there's some zoning matters that need to be accomplished as well. But he will be available in January to come before you to make that presentation, have a discussion. The minority participation policy, I think it's critical, obviously, to the EDA's work and mission. And one of the things I think that we're really focusing on is from a development standpoint, what types of policies could be established to provide opportunities for equity and inclusion in EDA development projects, where you are the property owner working with private development partners. I think it's important that we determine that. I believe everybody's aware of the disparity study that has been presented to City Council. I think that's a component of this discussion as well. Certainly, the EDA is not necessarily involved with city procurement and contracting, but I do think that's something that we need to digest and discuss as well. So we'll be looking to do that. I believe the city attorney will be joining us for that conversation. The waterfront development status, we did get an update from our consultant. They are expecting to have a draft of the market study completed by the end of the calendar year. I've asked for them to join us on the 16th to provide a review of the results of that study, then to discuss next steps for issuing a public solicitation for development opportunities. We will look to have them probably join us virtually so that we can get their whole team, because they're coming from different offices. But if there's a
Should we have
desire
a
to
representative here?
I can check on their availability. I'd have to determine that. If you would like to have somebody from their team here first, I can work to try to make that.
That's what we, and it doesn't mean to be the whole team. It would be nice to have a representative.
Understood. So I will make that ask, and we'll see if we can get them to make themselves available in person.
I think one of the challenges that we're going to have, particularly around the innovation district, is really just trying to determine what type of businesses are appropriate for that area, and if there's any zoning changes that need to be done to make that happen. I think that's pretty huge, at least in my mind, getting that right.
And for strategic, initiatives, any other opportunities or areas of focus that you would like to explore, we can certainly have an open discussion about that. If there's a specific item you'd like for us to, look at in advance of the meeting, to have some, information to bring before you, we can certainly do that as well. We'll expect that to be a kind of a robust discussion about where you see things heading in the future.
Are there any other items that you guys would like to see on the agenda? Don't have anything right now, please feel free to email Neil or myself or Brian. We can certainly include.
Chair, that does conclude our new business. We do have a need for a closed meeting.
Okay.
What was that?
I move to go into closed meeting pursuant to code section 2.2-3711 A 3 for the purposes of discussing disposition of real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body, specifically regarding 1021 through 1107 High Street.
Second.
Mr. Barber? Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Brown is absent. Mrs. Saunders Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
And Ms. Smith.
Yes.
Chair, the item is approved by a vote of 5-0. We are now in a closed meeting.
I hereby move that each commissioner certify to the best of his or her knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened, were heard, discussed, or considered. The closed meeting is concluded.
So. I'm delayed.
Thank you, Mrs. Saunders Smith. Sure. It's okay with you. I'll move to with roll call here. Mr. Barber? Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Brown is absent. Mrs. Saunders Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
And Ms. Spoon?
Yes.
Chair, the item is approved by a vote of 5-0. We are now back in an open meeting. The next item is items submitted by board members.
Do you have the status of what's happening with the, over the television, the city apartments?
I did get an update. It's interesting you asked because we drove by that just the other day. So I reached out to the developer for an update, and they're currently waiting on their financing to close. You know, obviously the project's been in the planning stages for a couple of years now. They have experience, I think, like many others, the impacts of higher interest rates for commercial lending and obviously inflation impacts to construction costs. So they're waiting on their financing approval for the project. I do believe they have an interest in commencing with the demolition of the shopping center to prepare the site for when that financing closes. So that's as much as I know, but that was as recent as of last week.
I wanted to get an update on the 7-Eleven contact with them. The one on High Street we were talking about. That 7-Eleven.
Adjacent to 1220 High Street.
Enterprise.
That's the
Yeah,
enterprise. No, we have not had. So.
And is this shopping center where Ollie's is located on George Washington Highway? Is that our city of Portsmouth? Or is that Chesapeake? I know it's right along the line. You know where Ollie's?
That's city of Portsmouth, yes.
Okay, I was up there. That area is getting bad. I mean, it's the parking lot, everything about that shopping center is.
No, it's terrible.
It's bad.
It's terrible.
I mean, we talk about the other shopping centers and we really hadn't ever talked about that. And I'm like, is this our property? I mean, it's the city's property. I mean, it's private.
Let me be
property,
clear,
but-
it's not
Yeah, it's
any
private
EDA property or
Yeah.
city-owned property. It is within the boundaries of the city of Portsmouth. It's privately owned, yes. Yeah.
Are you thinking we should think about that having it as a redevelopment area?
Yeah, I think it's possible redevelopment area, but something needs to be done about it. I don't know what pressure you can put on owners with their properties, but it's not
Just did the parking lot.
maintained
It
at
look
all.
better. Yeah. It looks horrible.
That's probably more of a code enforcement issue in
Yeah,
the matter. City's, zone and code compliance department, building officials office.
mhm.
But I can't speak to specifics. I really not familiar with.
Yeah, maybe we can make an inquiry about it.
Cause then they built those new houses right
Built the
down the
new
street.
houses right there, and that
And-
property is terrible.
Yeah.
Maybe they want to sell it, you think?
Even if they just repave the parking lot, it would look better.
Yeah.
It's just the asshole.
If there's
It's a
an
big-
interest, we should,
I don't
look
know.
at the
It's-
corridor and the, potential redevelopment area like we've done with there, and then begin to get our, real estate folks to look at what the opportunities are,
Mhm.
because I don't think it is, if that's the direction we want to go. That may be a topic for our strategic planning session.
A great suggestion. I think the hope, more than a hope, an expectation would be that as there's a, investment occurring in the vicinity of that shopping center, for instance, the Afton Green community, which the last, two phases of that residential community are under construction now. That as those 176 homes are built and developed, and there will be things done next door.
Yeah.
From an investment standpoint to coincide with that activity. I think there's been a couple of projects that have developed there recently, restaurant services that come here. So the hope would be, I guess, that the owner would see the need for reinvesting in the property, everything going on. But it's a privately held piece of property, so not something on that directed call at this stage, unless they reach out to us or we have reason to reach out to them.
I think we should think about reaching out to them just to see. Either they, maybe they do have some development plans, or maybe they just leave it. Because it's nothing being done. It's not like they're a little bit at a time, relevant. There's nothing been done on that property for years.
Well, they've opened a couple new business locations. They had I think a Waffle House. There was probably another car wash that opened down there. Recently, Ponce, of course, has opened a community hub in a former bank location there. That's directly on fronting George Washington. There's actually been some activity that's happened there the last 3 or 4 years.
I guess I'm talking about the shopping center
Further
part,
down.
at the outskirts. Yeah.
The center is obviously, that's more probably the name associated.
Mhm.
I had a citizen ask me about the water towers. The update on
Yeah.
they're being painted. Churchland is done.
Yeah.
And the Victory Crossing tower has been set up to be done.
Good.
Drove past there the other day, so all the stuff to hang the curtains around that tower have been installed on the tower now, so.
I love that.
Next step will be to figure out how to put water back in the towers.
Yeah.
Didn't know there wasn't water in. I guess there's no water in either of those towers. Wow.
No,
And hadn't been for years, quite a few years.
Oh, wow.
Well, that just took away a sense of security.
Yeah.
Pestering the city engineer to figure out what needs to be done so we can get water back in the towers.
I don't know, this is an EDA thing, just maybe something I just want to know. Why do we not have like any signs that say like casino exit here, like when you're coming from out of town, it's just Victory Crossing. It's nothing that says, hey, next 5 exits. Are we not allowed to advertise the casino on the signs? Or why are we not, just people who may not even just be passing through, oh, it's a casino right here, let me stop by. Are we not allowed to put signs up that says exit here casino?
You're actually not.
Okay.
So that's considered to be an adult use.
Okay.
We've explored that with VDOT. They have a program for roadway signage.
Mhm.
And very early on in the development process, we explored that with VDOT. It's considered to be an adult use.
Okay.
So they will not allow for that signage. So,
Mhm.
certainly if there's any privately owned billboards,
Yeah.
the casino could advertise on that, but that would be, something they would need to explore and do. We have suggested that, the casino could advertise restaurants.
Yeah,
I believe, I think
yeah.
that would meet
Oh, that's
the
good.
eligibility
We got Top Golf, Yard House.
provisions for roadway signage, but again, the casino would need to choose to do that, pursue that on its own.
Yeah.
But that was kind of the alternate,
Yeah.
next best scenario that we suggest.
I think they must just can't do it there.
Because it wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
Further items?
Is our, agenda just, is our retreat just with us or cancel? This is just
Just with us.
Okay.
I do have, well, one announcement and then a report back. The announcement is we've added another team member. I think some of you had an opportunity to meet that individual, but I did want to formally introduce them to you for those who have not. So Chris Tillett joined our team, gosh, just 3 weeks ago at this point in time. Chris was recently with the city of Hampton. Prior to that, spent some time in the private sector, and before that was with the city of Norfolk for a number of years. So really excited to have Chris join our team. He's our new manager of business development, so he's going to be working closely with me and the rest of the team to attract and recruit new businesses to the city of Portsmouth. Chris, if you'd like to share anything about yourself or.
Sure. Well, thank you, Ms. Bounty. As Brian said, I just recently come from Hampton. I did about 1.5 years in their economic development. Was their business development manager, focused on retail, a little bit on the private side, some commercial construction. I was the chief development officer there, but the majority of my work was about 7 years in Norfolk economic development, where the majority of my career was helping developers through all the city processes, site planning, permitting, planning commission. Was actually their enterprise zone administrator for a while, so new to this side, but not new to economic development, and excited to be back on the south side, where I do know people and kind of know the processes, and it's really good to be back here. So happy to be on the team.
So I think everybody's met Karen Williams here next to Chris, so she's been a great help as the rest of the team. So we are we're growing. We're still fairly small in comparison to they're really dedicated. Doing a fantastic job at.
You just pause right there. Great segue.
Okay.
We'd like to give you and your team a small gift from EDA, thanking you for all of your contributions this year, enthusiasm. Without the team, nothing works. So give this to you and pass that.
All right.
The team.
Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you very much.
It's really a pleasure to work with each and every one of you. You've been nothing but supportive of our efforts here, and you've been great partners and members of what I consider to be our economic development team. So thank you to each and every one of you. I'm going to segue a little bit, just as we're in a thanking mode here. Thank you for your sponsorship of our annual business appreciation reception that we held last Thursday. Really appreciated those of you who were able to join us. I know not everybody can make it. There's a lot going on this time of year, but we had over, I think, 150 attendees for that event, which was held at Rivers Casino, and heard nothing but great remarks and reviews, not just the event, but the casino. For a number of the people I spoke with, it was their first time stepping foot inside the casino. So one of the reasons we wanted to have it there, I hope a number of those hung around and maybe try their luck on the gaming floor and maybe leave let some money in Portsmouth. But it really was a great event. I do want to thank you for your sponsorship of that. And, that's I think important to recognize the business community in Portsmouth for all they do on behalf of the city. It's really kind of the heartbeat of who we are as a city and economy. And they put a lot of personal and professional effort into it. So we're thankful of them. So we appreciate your willingness to recognize them. I had nothing further to share. That was the only other report back I had, unless there's anything you need my attention on.
Do you have a new board member coming soon?
We do have a new board member. My understanding is that Matthew James has been, I guess, appointed as the newest member of EDA. I believe he will be joining us in January. I think he still has to take his formal oath of office and do an orientation with Mr. Miller and myself, but Matthew James will be joining you all as, Commissioner, James. Let Matthew, introduce and speak for himself in January, but, certainly has long ties in Portsmouth at one point in time. Matthew was the Economic Development Director, for the city of Portsmouth. Was involved with workforce development on the peninsula, running their office, focusing on the employment. Mr. James is also a delegate for a number of years and worked in Richmond with the state as well. So we're looking forward to having him join the economic development team.
Be a tremendous asset. Okay.
This meeting is now closed.